Oh, and it looks like Nazeris just got finished with Captain's Table. Hold on, let me message him again really quick. Okay, I messaged him. Alrighty, and cool. Alright, so everything's showing up, and you guys, looks like everybody can see the Roadmap Roundup. So, oh, did he already message me back? Yep, 1 second, guys, sorry. Send him the link for the camera. And I need to pull up my own stream on my tablet, that way I can monitor things in chat. Sorry for the delay, guys. There we go. Cool. Alrighty, there we go. So, Naz is going to get some water, use the bathroom real quick, and then he will be joining us, and I'll add him on screen. So, let's go ahead and get started with this part, and I will give him credit where credit is due. So, Nazeris, whoops, make it full screen. Nazeris always makes a point of reading the sort of preamble to the Roadmap Roundup, just because, it's, especially if this is, your first time or you're not familiar with the roadmap, it's always good to have appropriate context. That's what we're all about, is making sure that, we're all managing expectations and understanding the development with the information that we have in proper context. So, May 3rd, 2023, 1 a.m. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who helped to make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup. Actually, I should not have it in full screen, because that way I can't check back on things. Notable changes for May 3rd, 2023. Progress Tracker. The following deliverables have been added to the Progress Tracker. Ship Trespass. Ship Trespass. The interior of players' ships are now considered trespass zones for those without permission to enter. So obviously we don't know when this is going to be coming in-game. We'll just have to keep an eye on it as a feature. But it will be nice that have the ability, so that way people can't board your ship and then you defend yourself and you get a crime. If they are coming aboard your ship, they're not part of your party. They're committing a crime. You can defend yourself without getting a crime as well. Permission will be granted via the party system until more complex systems for managing crew and passengers is created. That's interesting that they're going to make a more unique system for managing crew and passengers aboard a specific ship. And I think it's pretty interesting that they mention passengers specifically. If you're that kind of gameplay will be a thing, and obviously you don't want your passengers on your E1, whether they're NPCs or players, getting a reputation hit or a crime stat for boarding the ship that they paid a ticket for. Ship Trespass is actually on the release view for 320. Oh, is it really? Oh yeah, it is. See, there you go. Thank you very much. Yep, I hadn't gotten that far. That's crazy that's just added to the progress tracker. We'll have to look at that and see if there is any work prior to now, or if they're just that confident that they can get that done in this period of time. Granted, that's like 5 months, but no, I think Moriyo Kiri, I think you're definitely, yep, they're both there. The mission team is just going gangbusters. They must have gotten some poutine with the locations team over in Montreal, and sorry, ice cream. I'll put it away here in a minute. But yeah, it's the way they wrote this description is really interesting, and it'll be interesting to see that that system added to the game. But at least being able to, hey, you're in my party, you're allowed to go in my ship. Sweet, we're all good. That'll be nice. Players trespassing aboard a ship can be attacked by the owner of the ship and any player in their party without fear of committing a crime. Players trespassing aboard a ship can be attacked by the owner of the ship and any player in their party, without fear of committing a crime. This deliverable has been added to the mission feature team's schedule. Yeah, so this is both mission feature team stuff. So they got a lot going on. Along with those other missions that were added in the previous Roadmap Roundup on, I think it was April 19th. New missions, Retrieve Consignment, a new mission type where players are tasked with locating critical items in consignment lists, then safely extract them. This deliverable has been added to the mission feature team schedule. So I was just listening to Captain Sable with probably a number of you guys when they talked about this, and I think Paul is spot on with his prediction of it. Sort of you'll get a location, and I think they're going to use this they've got 15, I think it was, new derelict settlements being added to the PU, and I imagine those are going to be are those on the release view for 320? Hold on, release view real quick before I speak out of turn. Yeah, they're not on the release view for 320, but we know that they so if you watched SCL yesterday, that sort of intermission looped video, that was one of the new derelict settlements, kind of like Ghost Hollow and I keep forgetting the name of the one on Daymar with the 600i and the MSR. Those are derelict settlements. They're being built with the procedural locations tool. And so I think that's what they're going to use these missions to introduce these derelict settlements. You'll have to, because it says a new mission type where players are tasked with locating critical items in consignment lists, then safely extract them. This deliverable has been added to the mission feature team's schedule. Whistler's Crypt. Thank you so much, Hamchuka. That one always escapes me because I haven't had a chance to visit it yet. I'm so frustrated that I haven't had a chance to visit it yet. I really am looking forward to seeing it. So we know that there will be, we know there's NPCs at Ghost Hollow. There's going to be NPC, and Whistler's Crypt, and I totally can see them scattering different items throughout these locations, the new derelict settlements, of which we'll have a total of 17 now, I think. And with the 15 new ones and the 2 that we already have. And so they can scatter these, there'll be loot boxes or, things on the ground. Who knows how they'll do it, but I think it's probably going to be loot boxes, as well as potentially things that are carried by NPCs. And you'll have to, these items are at this location, go find them and then bring them back here. It's a retrieval mission, like Paul was saying, repo mission. And I think that sounds like some pretty dang fun gameplay. The question is, it sounds fun and interesting, but also, kind of basic. You go find object, bring object back, shoot any bad guys who get in your way. I think it leaves a lot open to how you get the items. I think that this would be an amazing opportunity for them to introduce lockable containers and hacking tier 0 along with cutting tier 2 in order to, there's all these containers at this location. maybe some of them are unlocked, and others are locked. And you find them, and you're like, okay, the item that I'm looking for could be in here. Well, I got to get in there, and you either have to, you can find, maybe you'll be able to find the passcode somewhere sitting on like a table, or maybe it'll be something carried by an NPC. We've already been able to find those little tablets with the little pieces of information, but give you multiple options with which to unlock containers and get the things that you need to retrieve out of those containers. And I think it'd be a great, you bring your cutting tool and you cut the locks. You bring your hacking tool, and you hack the locks. You kill all the bad guys and find the one who has the key codes, and you put in the key codes so you don't have to hack it. All sorts of different options, that allow for you to, either you can go in there stealthily and do it. I'm sure that people will do that, instead of just running and gunning. Especially, if you're eventually, reputation-wise, you might not want to take that reputation hit. And if you just go in there and steal it and nobody catches you, you don't kill anyone, you don't take a reputation hit. That's kind of player agency. I really think will be great with a lot of these upcoming missions and the tools. The tools that will be available to us as players from new gameplay mechanics being added. Release view. The following card has passed its... Let me just check to make sure Nazeris... Yeah, he hadn't messaged me back. Hopefully he's not like, pooping or something. Release view. The following card has passed its final review for Alpha 3.19. Therefore, we are updating its card to committed. RSI links. Building, implementing, and balancing RSI's planetary rover, the Lynx, as a game-ready vehicle. And we actually got a glimpse of the Lynx in the trailer for Invictus Launch Week. It was in there at the sort of towards the end, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we'll be seeing that in game very soon. I don't think I haven't seen it posted in any of the links. I haven't seen it posted in any of the leaks yet, so I haven't seen anything from it other than what CIG has released. But it looks like it'll be a fun rover, and it definitely shows a bit of polish. And what Naz was saying with the C8R getting added and the C8 getting a little update along with it, I do hope that the same thing sort of happens with the Ursa rover, and like getting its buttons and maybe getting a little bit of polish and update here and there. And then the following cards have been added to the 320 column view on the release view, which we just talked about. Ship Trespass as being added to the progress tracker, so we've read that one. And we also talked about the new missions, Retrieve Consignment, being added. So it's not only just now being added to the progress tracker, but it's also being added to the release view for 320. And then the big news, huge news, and then Skeptics will do what Skeptics going to do. The MISC Hull C being added to the release view. Again, this is like the third, maybe fourth time it's been on the release view. I think this is the time. And I hope it's the time because they're ready for it, not because they're just going to push it out with a hack job, partial implementation of its gameplay and function. Because I know there are a lot of Hull C owners who are very eager to have their ship in game, and I totally sympathize with that situation. But I also, there's a lot of gameplay and functionality associated with the Hull C that we've been waiting on for a long time, and has been actively in development, right now and for a while now. And so I'm really hoping that the Hull C is ready. We anticipate that we'll be able to get these tasks done for its implementation, into 320, and I think that's why they're, adding it this early. Because adding it this early is very confident. If you remember, with the new way that they're doing things for the release view on the roadmap, they aren't adding deliverables to the release view. they don't, for the next patch until the current patch is already in game. So we didn't get stuff for 3.19 until 3.18 was released. We just knew it was on the roadmap. And 3.19 is, in PTU, it's almost released and they're starting to add things. But the idea was that, we wouldn't we wouldn't know it was in the next patch until 3 months away from the next patch. Well, we're 5 months away from the next patch. Because if you look at the release view, 3.20, tentative Q3 2023. So Q3 2023, when they say something is the Q3 patch, it's at the end of that quarter, or, usually it means the beginning of the quarter following, just because it's CIG. Well, what else is right around that time frame? CitizenCon, folks. This is going to be the CitizenCon patch. CitizenCon is usually the 10th of October. I don't remember what the exact, because they announced it. I don't remember what the exact date was, if it was maybe the 10th or the 21st. Someone look it up for me. But 3.20 is going to be the CitizenCon patch. Either it will get released, go live at CitizenCon, or just before, probably maybe just after, but it's going to hover around CitizenCon. And they're going to demo things in that patch, and talk about the development of those things at CitizenCon. But us having things added to the 3.20 patch 5 whole months, because it's May right now, beginning of May. We won't see it until probably the beginning of October-ish. Having those things added at 5 months in advance is a really good sign of their level of confidence in their ability to get them in. So the big question is, how confident are they that they can get in the things for the Mist Hull C that make it a actually functional ship in game, not just another, not faking cargo, and the implementation of the wider cargo factor. So to me, it's a good signal. I'm confident that they are putting it in with a lot of these things that are meant to be associated with it. Vehicle tractor beams, because we know the Hull C has tractor beams, remote tractor beams on it now. We saw those in the Hull A. It was the comm link for the Hull A. You could see it in the background. But that also means the Hull C from the raft, it was the raft Q&A. The smallest container that the Hull C can carry is a 32 SCU container. So I think that this means that we're going to see a much wider implementation of the cargo factor with various sizes of cargo containers. Not just the 32 SCU, but 4, 8, 16, all that. Bloodtide Gaming says they'll have to redo the entire economy. This is why I think that quantum, the quantum economy is coming in. I think that they've been waiting for the quantum economy, and now Tony Z has given them the okay to say, yep, we are ready to add in more of the economy to the game in order to allow for this sort of stuff to work, to have cargo contracts, because we are 5 months out from this. There's going to be a lot more added to 3.20 over the coming quarter prior to 3.20's release. Yeah. Well, and I would hope that they update the Raft, Bloodtide Gaming. I hope so. The Raft is one of my favorite ships. I am a tried and true Argo fanboy. I love my Anvil as well, but at the same time, I buy everything orange. Hold on, I'm going to take a bite of ice cream and put this away. So let me put it this way. The Hull C is added to the release view of the roadmap on the same day that in the April monthly report for the PU, the Systemic Services and Tools team, Tony Z's team, the ones building Quantum, as well as all the services that go into it, that team is rarely included in the monthly reports. Their mention in the April monthly report, as well as the March monthly report, were the first times that they had been in the monthly report since February of 2022. So, you know what? We're going to go on a little tangent, and we're going to pull this up, because I think this is important contextual information. So, let's see. No. April, oh no, it's 2023. Oops. Here we go. So this is important contextual information. Let's go down here to Systemic Services and Tools. So this is the reason I got excited about this is because if you've been following the podcast, you know that Nazeris and I have been following Quantum and not only the quantum economy, and the overall quantum deliverable, but to put Quantum into context and really think of it this way: Quantum, and then server meshing, and then PES. It is a triangle. And these are the pillars that the game is built on. The behind-the-scenes simulation that runs the economy and makes all the AI work, and all the services that drive them. And then server meshing, which allows us to have more systems, more NPCs. It's what drives the simulation that we can see versus Quantum, the simulation that we can't. And then PES, which is what records the state of the universe, the state of all the entities. It's what records the state of those things on the entity graph, but also think of it as the replication layer replicates that state to people that need to know, i.e., the server that is, that is simulating that entity, as well as the clients that are on that server and within that area of effect that they need to be updated on the state of that entity. And that's how these things work. But so Quantum has just like how when CR told us that PES is a really difficult thing, they had to make 18 new services for PES to come online, as part of the PES sort of host of services. Server meshing is requiring 4 new services on top of the ones that have already been put into the game to allow for it. Well, Quantum also has a whole bunch of services that feed into the overall backend simulation. And we talked a lot about those when we covered Bounty Hunting V2 last fall. And so Nazeris have been following, and I have been following those things for a while. And so Quantum, the development of Quantum got delayed because iCache failed. I've shown that clip multiple times on the podcast where Tony Z is telling us about Quantum in May 2021, and he says, with iCache largely complete, we've been able to reassign or whatever some resources, and by resources he means network engineers, the people who were working on iCache who then needed to work on Quantum to work on Quantum. Well, obviously iCache didn't work. So those assets, those resources, those people didn't get reassigned. But I can go using ShinyTracker. The other day, I was able to go back and track all the way back to when ShinyTracker first came out in like February of 2022. I was able to track that there have been 5, a minimum of 5, I think we're up to like 6 or 7 now, engineers from the Systemic Services and Tools team who have been working on Quantum actively, continuously, since February 2022. 9 months after Tony Z said, iCache is done, and we know that it failed. So, and they've been churning away on tasks, but I think it's awfully coincidental that the whole C is added to the release view for 320 the same day that the monthly report comes out for April 2023 for the PU. And it says, under Systemic Services and Tools, the people developing Quantum. Oh, did Nazeris... Oh, I'm sorry, Nazeris. I for some reason, it didn't give me any noise. Hold on 1 second. Trying to call Nazeris back. Can you hear me? For some reason, it didn't ring.
Very loud. There you go. Hello.
Hello. Hold on. I'm going to add you to... I got to add your camera. Give me 1 second.
I am sorry I'm late. I thought we
No.
were doing it... Well, at the first, I thought we were doing it at, like, a little while after the captain's table. We had, like, a rest, like, 10 minutes, and we do this. But then I thought you said you couldn't do it Saturday, and you said you couldn't do it Sunday, so I thought I had till tomorrow to relax. But no, I reread it when you started posting
no
the
rest for the wicked, Nazeris. None. You get no rest.
This is what I get for having a migraine. I just need to, like, stop having migraines.
What do you think I not pay you for?
I know, right? I'm such a terrible intern.
Let's see.
Bad intern.
Properties. Bear with us, everybody. I'm adding Nazeris to the camera. Can you guys hear him all right? I hear him, and I see his audio on OBS.
Hello, chat. We've been gone so long.
Yeah.
I see at least a couple people that were over in Paul's chat. Yep, sounds good. Great. I'm gonna be so dead after this.
I'm going to adjust your volume just to... you're fine, actually. I don't want you to be too quiet, because you were too quiet on the last video, and that's my bad. All right, let me transition to the screen with you in it. 3, 2, 1. Hooray! Everybody wave at Nazeris. Welcome, Nazeris. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Hey, Carlos. Welcome back. First time chat.
Oh, boy. Where are we at? Oh, yeah, so you should probably get, like, up on where we are. Where are we at?
So, I went on a little tangent, but you're going to like this tangent. So, I got to the end
I heard some of it.
Yeah. I got to the end of the Roadmap Roundup, and I was like, you know what? Whole C, we're going to do a little bit of tinfoil hat, but it's tinfoil hat supported by evidence. And so I was explaining to chat.
Which is the best kind of tinfoil hat.
It's the best kind, because it's like, this is why I think this. Here's a citation. Here's a citation. Here, everybody, look at these citations. Tell me what you think.
Yeah. If I was just wondering if I had always heard wrong. I thought that Tony Z economy thing was called quanta. Is it actually quantum?
The
Quanta
economy and the
are
simulation.
The entities on quantum. Quantum is the service. Quanta is a unit in that service.
Yeah. And it's something that we...
Not to be confused with quantum travel.
Mm-hmm.
It's
because if you're CIG
and
you don't have 3 things using the same name, you're not doing it.
Because Odin, and Orion.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Like,
so what else?
Reliant, Retaliator, Redeemer.
Yeah.
Reclaimer.
Isn't there another Quanta thingamabob that makes it Tony Z's Holy Trinity? Dibley followed my channel. Thank you so much, bud.
Part of the crew partnership. Part of the crew partnership. Man. Part of the crew partnership.
What's the?
Oh, sweet. And the gift work too.
What's the other service that he was talking about? Odin, Quantum, and what's the other thing he talked about in the video?
Oh gosh, there's a lot. I don't remember any other of them had really super recognizable names though. I'd have to go back and look.
The spaghetti graphs
Hex,
are its own thing. Yeah, but the spaghetti graphs had their own name.
Oh, did they? Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Titanium.
No,
virtual NPCs. Oh. That's part of Quantum, though.
No, I know it. Sort of. I know what you're talking about. Oh crap! Oh well.
I'm sorry.
There could be. I don't know. And thanks for the follow, Dibley. Appreciate it. Mount Stunner. One of those things where it's the whole look-alike, sound-alike thing. But now, so what I was talking to Chad about was, how we had been following Quanta. Or see, I just did it. I just freaking did it. I told him how you and I have been following Quantum in detail and how the Tony Z's team, Systemic Services and Tools, has been actively working on it as far back as ShinyTracker goes, which is February 2022. But we know that it got delayed because of the work on PES because iCache didn't work. And then I was explaining to them.
I just noticed that when they did their 2949 CitizenCon, the entire Quantum demo was running in Hex.
Yeah, the Hex service.
Big top bar. Yeah, it's on the top bar. It's this Hex, and I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah,
until just now. Sorry, I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
But so the conspiracy theory tinfoil hat is the Hull C was added to the roadmap, the release view on May 3rd with the Roadmap Roundup, the same day that the April monthly report came out. And in the monthly report is a mention of Systemic Services and Tools. Well, that team was mentioned in this month, April's monthly report and March's, but hadn't been in the monthly report since February of 2022. And at the bottom of their mention, I have it up on screen right now, it says the team planned out the next set of milestones for the Quantum Odin Tool 2. So to me, that means that if they're planning out the next set, the current set is nearly done, or mostly done, getting ready for release. We don't know what those milestones are, but remember from the Quantum...
I can guarantee one of them.
Yeah.
I can guarantee one of the Odin milestone is dynamic events being dynamic.
Could be. Yeah.
We remember how he had that within the next 2 years, I hypothesize that we will have Jumptown as an unscheduled event.
Yeah. Remember in the May 2021 presentation where he had that sort of rollout plan of, we're going to do refuel, repair, rearm, refineries, all these different things, and these are the things that we're going to be rolling out, in a sort of stepwise fashion, and they're, not in a particular order. Well, it's whatever that list is, pick something, but because it's the whole C, I think it's the more of the quantum, the economy side of it versus the, I don't know what you'd call, versus like the other aspects, but I think that's what we're looking at is they've been working their butts off on a couple of milestones or several milestones related to those things that hadn't been released yet.
So do you remember when they said, I think it was either for 318 or 317. I think it was 317, where they said Tony Z is trying to get something into the patch.
Yeah. Yep.
He doesn't know if he's going to be able to fit it in there. I think there was 17, in which case he wasn't able to get in 17. And then he wasn't able to get in 18, and then 19 is still just 18 plus. Yeah. So he's had time to work on whatever he was just about to get into a patch for most of a year now to get into 320. What do you want to bet?
I think he
bounty wanted to, like we talked about.
Either bounty or, it could be a lot of different things. Actually,
So
but that's my.
You have like the whole sea, like now the whole sea's ready to go in, and all the stuff you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been trying to shove in facets of bounty hunting for a while now. So both of those things just ending up hitting at the exact same time. Like, for me, looking at all the lines on the board, it makes sense to me. That just because of timing and how different features got worked on and delaying of a 318 with a PES, and so they had to like not gut, but like not build 319, and for everything to be 320 and then 40, I can see both the cargo and economy stuff, how they're making they're doing location work for not prison, but the security offices and the hovering cells. Like they're doing location work. Location work is very fast work.
There could be so
they must
much from Quantum coming in.
Ready to do something about it.
Yeah.
For 320.
I'm trying to find
part of the crew.
Thank you for the follow, Carlos.
And the Holy Trinity.
Part of the crew. Part of the
ship.
Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Quantum, Quasar, and Quantum, Quanta, and Quasar.
There it is. Yeah.
Quasar is the. Is Quasar the tool?
I think Quasar is the dynamic event tool.
That's Odin.
Is it?
Yes. Is Odin. Nope, you're right. What is Odin then? Creating this Quasar, a new tool that lets us manage.
I think Odin's server meshing.
ODIN.
I was trying to find the
desired result is difficult. In order to solve this, we create Odin, a plugin in the Python-based Jupyter Lab environment. Odin is a powerful flow-based tool that allows. Oh, Odin's the graphs. Quasar is dynamic events. I got it.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah.
Quasar's dynamic events. I kept calling it Odin. I've been calling it Odin for like the past year. Whoops. So technically, the Holy Trinity is Quantum, Quasar, and Odin. So.
Yeah, but that's so that's my tinfoil hat is if the Systemic Services and Tools team, who never get mentioned in the monthly reports because they've been apparently been working on the same stuff for ages, not ages, but for essentially a year, and now they're finally done with it. To me, that means that it is, that they are nearly done, and they're adding it to the 320 build, and they'll be supporting it while they also get to work on the next set of milestones. But we just don't know what the current set was and the next set was. But if you go back and you watch the May 21 presentation, I should have found the timestamp. Tony Z has a list of things, and some of the things are things that we already have already. Other things are things that are being in development right now.
I love when they list off stuff.
Yeah. Like they're, it says
like
right here, they're currently preparing to work on the virtual NPC service. And they've already done work on that. We've seen it on the progress tracker, but apparently they put it down in order to work on something else. But
it's probably PS.
I think it's a little bit too coincidental that this is said here. This in the monthly report, the same day that the whole C goes on the release view for 320. It just seems a little bit too much coincidence for me. But so that's that little tangent on the Roadmap Roundup. And then now we can get into the progress tracker. We'll take a look at the Delta report. The first few things are things that we already talked about, the 3 deliverables that were added. And then 44 deliverables were updated. And so, generally, we just kind of skim through the chapter work, just because it's like almost everything Squadron 42 related is downstream, and so it only gets updated 3 months at a time anyway. So it doesn't give us much indication.
Like that's a big thing. Is all the work currently in Squadron is
but
downstream.
Those teams have always been downstream. Squadron 42 level design, Squadron 42 feature, Squadron 42 light. Those are all have always been downstream.
But they've had work in the past. They've had work in the past that has been upstream. There are some teams that touch the stuff that is
downstream. Squadron 42 character art, Squadron 42 art, Squadron 42 features, Squadron 42 level design FPS, level design flight, level design social, Squadron 42 UI. All of the any of these teams that start with Squadron 42 are downstream. And so they've always only ever been 3
vehicle
months at a time.
feature, weapon feature.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's obviously that. Magazine. Yeah, weapon and weapon and vehicle feature are upstream.
Mm-hmm.
Feature I know is that. Vehicle feature again. So so yes, they have had some. Most importantly, just vehicle feature has been upstream, but there are no vehicle features needed for Squadron. Basically, is what we can easily say.
Well, and that you're right though. That is a good indication because if you look at these sprints, and like when you see sometimes you see squadron listed teams like vehicle feature or VFX, UI, tech, something like that, it means that they are adding something in or providing support to something within that chapter, so that they can continue to work on it. And especially right now with all the things that are in development, the big features that they're working on to get finished so they can get Squadron out the door, seeing that work go in and then come to a close, is a potentially a really good indicator. But the deliverables that are updated, we've got some good ones. The AR and map marker system rework. We talked about this. Was it in the last episode where I made that video?
I think so. Yeah, it was.
Right,
it was.
Yeah. So all those things that AR is augmented reality. So the things that pop up on your screen to mark things and give you descriptions of things. So that big rework, we saw all that at CitizenCon. So the UI tech team's continuing to add work to that. Hopefully that work will come to a close in the near future, and we will see it moved over to the PU. But it was looking really good at CitizenCon. And then something I'm super interested in is the asteroid facilities, which they've been steadily working on for. Let's pull it up again. The deliverable, the progress tracker.
Now,
I always forget where they started.
Is asteroid facilities going to evolve into replacing how Grimhex is built?
I think Grimhex is bespoke, but I think we're going to see things like Grimhex, but not bespoke. A UGF built into an asteroid.
Right. So, port all are to Lagrange point stations is what I mean. Grimhex is bespoke now, but it sounds like they're going to want to move specifically the asteroids facilities into a reproducible point, and once they have that, they're going to stop updating Grimhex, and eventually, when they get far enough, convert Grimhex into an asteroid facility so that it's more modular, more maintainable.
I don't know, maybe. It depends on how much
station tech.
It depends on the Port Olisar is like all the other stations. It's one of the probably going to be one of the big ones like Baijini and Tressler. With the asteroid facilities, I see those more being mass reproducible in lots of different variations using the algorithms that they feed into the procedural locations tool. I don't think they'll rearrange Grimhex, but I think that we will get overlays for the asteroid facilities, like the outlaw overlays, kind of like we have the overlays on the stations, like in Pyro. It's the same station tech as the stations in Stanton, but they have outlaw overlays, put onto them. And they'll do the same thing with UGS.
Facilities do say handcrafted, not procedurally.
Yeah. Well, it's, handcrafted in that they use the procedural tools. So like the procedural tool builds the layout and everything, and then they go through and mark it up with the overlays in order to make it look cool. But I don't think that they're going to be making individual.
Well, no, that'd be stupid.
Yeah,
they've already said that's stupid.
No,
you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason the asteroid facilities are really interesting to me is because they are specifically mentioned in the up-to-date Nyx lore, not the Nyx comlink from years ago, but the Nyx lore that was added to the Galactopedia just this last year. It mentions specifically that there are asteroid facilities in the different asteroid belts. So that to me that's very interesting. And I've gone through. Was it? I don't remember if it was part of a Pathfinders thing. Well, I think so. This is
September, but like
it's 3 art devs, and so I think what they're doing right now is the all the concept art and everything like they did leading up to the reveal of the underground facilities at CitizenCon. Yeah, I think that we are going to see if this work is obviously it's Sandbox 1, which is hold on real quick. Sandbox 1, EU Sandbox 1 is an upstream team. So actually, this could potentially get updated soon, because we haven't gotten the Q4 update for the upstream teams. So,
won't we get that also in July when we get the downstream for?
No, we should have gotten. We should have gotten. We should already be getting the upstream teams for Q4 as part of this quarter's update.
Oh,
yeah.
So hopefully next Wednesday? Which Wednesday? The Wednesday.
Not this upcoming, but the following. Yeah. I thought we were going to get some this Wednesday, like this roadmap roundup we're talking about right now, but that didn't happen. So, take it for what it's worth. Jake could just be really busy. I don't know. We did get a bunch more updates to the progress tracker, as part of this update. So obviously he put in a bunch of work to update it with a whole bunch of things. But because this,
I wonder how much he actually has to work on authoring the tiles, like the individual things for every update. Like how much does he specifically like?
I don't know.
Is there not a way to
more
automate that? Yeah.
Well, I know the teams are supposed to update the information, and then he goes in and organizes and scrubs it as well. But I don't know if he has to individually take those updates and add them.
Does he have to write everything? Like,
yeah.
Does he get thrown a paragraph and he has to translate that into a tile?
Yeah.
That would be like, hey, Jared, I know you're not listening, but like, if you want a part with Jake on it, like, that's a great thing to ask. Like, what does he do? What's his day to day?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of terrible things do the devs do to him?
Yeah.
To make him maintain the roadmap. Why is CIG not value the roadmap enough to give him more devs?
So this is another tinfoil hat thing, and this is less supported, but because asteroid facilities are specifically mentioned in the lore for Nyx, I think that there is a potential that they will update us and tell us that Nyx is going into production at CitizenCon and is planned for release next year with asteroid facilities. Because I did a segment. I don't remember if I did a segment, if it was in Lore Equals Gameplay or what, but I went through the lore and found every place where underground facilities were mentioned, and I've also gone through and looked and seen everywhere where asteroid facilities were mentioned, and they're mentioned in a lot of places. It's just like with the stations and stuff, they are building this tech so that way they can use it over and over again throughout, many different systems in the Star Citizen universe, and it's all being built with, procedural tools that allow them to click 80% of the construction is done. Now we're going to go through and hand polish it and hand place a few things here and there to make it look unique, just like the stations in Pyro. So that's that's my tinfoil hat that we're going to hear about next towards the Q3, Q4 this year, going into next year.
It'd be really cool if we got the CitizenCon demo was Stanton to Pyro to Nyx.
I could see us making a jump into Nyx, but it depends on if something else. Yeah, but it depends on if something else gets added for Nyx in the very near future, which it's getting a little bit close to the wire, because when they did that sprint on Nyx, back in like 2021, there was nothing to it. It was within a month, they didn't do a whole lot. So, back to the.
Like, I know, technically they wouldn't put Nyx work under. Actually, no, they could hide it under miscellaneous and tech debt because it's polish work.
No,
they could. They could. It's polish work. It's polishing the system. They could absolutely just chuck it into miscellaneous or.
They already have a deliverable up there for it, though. I think that they would just add in work onto that. Because it's announced, I don't think they would not talk about it in the monthly report. So back to the Delta report.
Yeah, they did talk about Pyro. No,
yeah, they've been talking about Pyro a lot.
Well, I'm saying before we got the Pyro demo, did they talk about Pyro in any measurable way?
Oh gosh, it's been so long.
I know.
I can't remember the monthly reports that far back. I don't know what the Entity Properties plugin is, but another thing that we're just talking about Quantum and Odin, as well as the Hex tool. So Hex is the for that deliverable, it says increased Hex tools feature set to enable player relations and developers to view and manipulate real-time data from all microservices in the mesh. Okay, so this tool is what they were using to look at the stuff in Quantum, but this isn't. This is a player services tool thing, not something for the devs really to use for developing Quantum.
Right.
But that's good that they're adding more work to that, because
it's a window into the data that makes up the game.
Yep. And I imagine this is the stuff that will allow them to fix people's accounts. After everything that they learned with the debacle that was, that has been 3.18. I imagine that's part of what this sprint is. Like, okay, we found all these holes in the code. Here's where we patch them up and fix these things. That way we can prevent people's accounts from getting borked for these reasons in the future, and allow it to be more functional.
In the entity property plugin, it says improving the entity property handling to easily adjust properties for multiple entities at the same time. Decreasing iteration time for designers is a major upgrade to the old way of handling things for entity properties, which was pretty limited and hard to extend.
Okay, so speeding up development.
Yeah, like
if a thing
the boxes you get from blowing up a ship, right? Those are entities. What if they said, well, we need these to all have the weight property for their inventories? Well, you got to find every box that has it, and you gotta update every ship that makes a box. But this allows you to say, all of these boxes get weight properties. Done. Moving on.
Yep.
So it's just a much better way. It's basically Control A. It sounds like Control A, change properties. You're done.
Yeah.
Instead of this reference and this reference and this reference. Yeah.
Yeah, having to track them all down and have things fall through the cracks and.
Yeah, and everything that is marked says better for designers means faster production on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they say designer, it means their stuff's getting out the door faster.
Yep. The map and radar system rework, that's a big deal, because that the in the Squadron 42 monthly report, I think it was. Maybe it was in the PU one as well. They talked about the progress on the internal map system, so that way, your player map, like they showed it off with the Idris back in Citizen Con. So that's as well as the you doing that little ping thing and having things be on your radar. That's that whole system. So that they're continuing to work on that and making really good progress is a big deal, because that's another feature that it's in our previous podcast where we talked about how Squadron 42 is not stealing resources. These things need to be developed, and they're being developed in a way that is to be systemic and to be functional across both all products. Once this is done, it isn't a huge big deal to port it into the PU and add it into the PU dev branch. So it's I'm really looking forward to seeing this and having a map and interior maps that are generated and having player-based FPS radar. So that'll be really great. Obviously, Hull C, miscellaneous support, Moby-Glass rework. Again, Jake. So when I got together with Jake and Paul a few weeks ago for dinner and drinks, Jake was just gushing on the UI, Squadron 42 UI and UI tech team, with all the the incredible work that they are getting done and how hard they are working to get these features complete and get them out to us. And he kept on saying, it just looks amazing. It looks so good. You guys have just barely seen little hints of it here and there. So I'm really excited to see some of this stuff and see it make its way over to the PU. Same with the Moby-Glass rework. The new interdiction scenarios is getting... So this is one of those things that has had its can kicked down the road numerous times, because this is a deliverable that was added a while ago. Like it was, what was it, early last year or maybe even before that?
Q2 2020.
Yeah. So
June 2022. Yep.
So yeah, it'll be good to see. Yep. Yeah, there it is. Duh. It's good to see them picking it back up and picking this up.
Literally
and
looking at the
adding
date
more work
right
to
in
it.
front of us.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, seeing that work will be good. Still working on
Isn't it based on quantum? Yeah, no, it's quantum traveling. No, it doesn't say specifically based on quantum.
Yeah, I imagine
it
it's
should
one of those
be,
things where these scenarios will be generated based off of the probability volumes from quantum.
Right.
Yeah. What is the probability in this area that you will run into one of these quanta? Who will be then physicalized, and then after they're done interacting with you and they are streamed out, then they disappear for good and they're no longer part of the game. They go back onto the back end system.
Yeah, I forget. Did they say how virtual NPCs are made? Like, do they say we want 100 VNPCs at instantiation, or do quantum randomly evolve into VNPCs?
The way I understood what Tony Z said is that quanta are separate from virtual NPCs and subsumption AI, in that they don't continue to exist and aren't a quanta is generated based off of the probability volume that you will in that volume, and the probabilities within that volume are dictated by the quantum simulation, but they are it's a random hauler in whatever ship they say it should be, hauling whatever based off of what sort of traffic's going on there. But then you pirate them or you don't, and then they just continue on their way, and once they are streamed off of your client, then they disappear into the ether and they are deleted. Versus a subsumption AI when they are no longer, when your client and the server stream them out, because they, left the radius or whatever, the entity zone, then they become virtual NPCs, virtual AI. I think there's a barrier between Quanta and VNPCs and subsumption AI. At least that's the way I understood it when we were, rewatching that. I could be mistaking it, and they could change that, but that's the way I understood it. The Quanta are ethereal, and then what when they become physicalized, it's just for that instance, and then they are deleted again.
But what creates a VNPC? Is it CIG saying make a VNPC game, or is it the quantum system rolling a nat 20 and that spawns?
I would have
VNPC.
to go back and rewatch his explanation of the virtual AI
He doesn't
service,
say,
because
he literally says let's put in a VNPC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't.
So
that's the other thing, is the quantum population, or the population of Quanta, or the simulation. Like, they are aiming to simulate 100,000 NPCs in Stanton, but we don't know what percentage of that population are Quanta, and what percentage are VNPCs / subsumption AI. We don't know how many permanent characters.
Well, subsumption only runs around the player.
Yeah, but we don't know how many permanent, whether they are subsumed or or virtual. We don't know how many out of that 100,000 population belong to the persistent NPC population, if you want to call it that. The ones who go back and forth between subsumption and virtual NPCs. So I don't, they didn't give us an answer on that. We'll just have to wait and find out. But that doesn't change. That just changes. All that does is change how many NPCs we run into have histories. It doesn't change how many we can run into, because we can still run into NPCs as part of probability volumes that they don't have a history. They're just created based off of an instance scenario.
Yeah, like all the goons we run into for like 9 tails and crap, that 99.99% are probably not going to be VNPCs. Like I'm pretty sure the roster of VNPCs is finite. You can't do quantum levels of VNPCs. Yeah. So not every character in the game could be a VNPC. So most the here, go shoot this are going to be just Quanta.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. The grunts. And when I say grunts, I can't help but think about Halo grunts. Oops. Yeah. They're continuing to work on the outpost homesteads. So there's outpost settlements, and then there's outpost homesteads. If I'm remembering that correctly. And then these are the Independent and Outlaw are two different overlays for the Rastar system for the outposts that are built using it. Obviously, persistent streaming and server meshing, going to continue its work into perpetuity. Play interaction experience, visor HUD and helmet. UI tech team adding a few days of work. That's good. Good to see. The player interaction experience is going to be it's tier 0 through tier 2, and those are going to be really interesting to keep an eye on and hopefully see them in the PU soon. Interesting that they are continuing to work on Rastar as much as they are without mentioning it, that work in the monthly reports. Don't know what that work is. Don't know what's next for the Rastar tool, because they've updated us pretty in depth for the last two Citizen Cons. But it's again another thing that Nazeris and I follow pretty closely. Loved kicking grunts in Halo 1. Yeah.
I imagine Rastar is going to end up being what it needs to be until they make their push for the player-facing side.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when we stop hearing about it, it just means they've reached equilibrium for what they need to do. Kind of like ships or features that were for Squadron specifically. They did it. It's like the whole scene.
Yep.
Like, they did it, they got Squadron ready, and then it just kind of stays there till they're ready to work on it for the persistent universe.
And based off of this, the number of tasks and the number of people working on it, it seems like they're working on it part-time, which probably means they're adding a few more little features here and polishing things for the devs based off who use it based off the feedback they're getting. But it doesn't look like it's in big production, getting it ready for the next stage, like you were talking about. Yeah. Squadron 42 vehicle support. This is, like Nazeris was saying, with miscellaneous or bug fixing tech debt. This is just, vehicles, all the vehicles in Squadron that don't have their own specific deliverable. This is just the polish / gold standard work for those things. Star Wars. What is Star Wars again? Is that the?
They're everything that's ever said in the game. It is their translation tool. It is their tooltips. It is their mission dialogue. Anything that has text in the game is Star Wars.
Gotcha.
And that's how they're able to do localization easily, is translating all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's basically their compendium of text in the game so that they can go to one place for localization.
Nope. Test runner improvements.
Yay, QA.
Yep, that's a QA tool. And ongoing work on the underground facilities. So the other really cool thing about ShinyTracker is going through this, and you can look at how many people are working on what, but also they include updates of when devs are added or removed to the production of a deliverable. So like with underground facilities, they did have 4 art devs on it, and now there are 5, and they have 90 tasks. But they're under went from a 29% load to a 20% load. So someone became available, or potentially underground facilities were given greater priority. But you're just seeing more people added to it. Kind of like Rastar now went from 3 engineering devs to 4, and just based off of who's available, from different things moving around. This is agile development, and Shiny Hobo, thanks for joining us, bud. I should have that new view mostly done this week, by the way. I need to make some significant performance improvements to it. There's a lot of data to render. Yeah, I bet with all, 500 deliverables now? Naz, did you see that tag in Discord in my server?
I only glimpsed it. I've had a very busy evening.
So everybody, if you haven't seen it...
pretty. I see it. I'm looking at it. What does that mean? I see
it's
colors.
Visualization of what we're looking at right now. Between this and the scheduled deliverables report.
It's the actual work as bars instead of a bar. And he's okay. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's why I tagged you.
Why are some of that? What's the yellow and green? What's the difference? Part and full time. And and the more bars, the more devs? Like Fire Hazard has like 20,000 devs on it? What? Okay, hold on. We have this. Okay, where's my tab? My window's too small to show all my tabs. There we go. You go over there.
I opened it up on
ShinyTracker. Yeah, ShinyTracker, scheduled deliverables. Go to Fire Hazard.
More bars, more tasks. You just said yes, green is full. More bars or more tasks. Very interesting. Yeah, so this is a visualization of the data that Shiny Hobo, the creator of ShinyTracker, the reports that we're just looking at. This is a visualization of the data that they pull from the progress tracker and the roadmap updates. And this is to show us when things are being worked on, and how many tasks are being done for these specific deliverables. So we'll be talking to Shiny more about how all this works and making sure we understand it. But it'll be really interesting to see how this comes about, because we all like pictures, and so it's a lot easier for us to digest information with a picture versus a lot of words and numbers. So yeah, it's a really really cool
update. You out information easily the actual progress tracker.
Yep.
Like this is going to be so much help to know where things are going, because these gaps now line up in these tasks. We can admittedly track devs easier, but like we can see where the holes are now. So we can like understand.
Yeah.
We can really understand like what stuff is prioritized. We don't have to like, is it being worked on now? Like the bar is there, but is that because of a 1 week thing at the end of the quarter? We can actually see where the work is now. This is amazing. This is nothing short of amazing. I can't wait. So we're all gonna be staring at the pretty stars. Next Roadmap Roundup. As amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Let's see. Do you not have? You don't have a Go Donate spot on your site, and you should. You should add something so people can donate to your work.
Yeah, I do it.
Yeah, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like this is like the top 5 community like resources. It's amazing.
And look at all those tasks. My goodness.
Like fire is so dense. Look how dense fire is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Shiny breaking it down for us, like why some of these blocks are bigger and why some are smaller and narrower, and what the yellow versus green means. Green is
yellow
full,
and
as in like
part-time. Yeah.
But they're like
Yellow's
mixed
part-time,
in.
green is full-time.
Yeah, so they're working full-time on this task, but part-time on another task, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or different devs.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
We'll be able to see.
Looking forward to seeing more of that.
Peak soon. Interesting.
Let's take a look at the scheduled deliverables report. So this is another one of the 2 reports that come out from the ShinyTracker.
Okay. Yeah.
The vertical size.
The vertical size is just.
Oh, okay.
So
that's not.
So if there's one task, it's the full bar. If there's 2 tasks, it's 2 on top of each other.
In order to cram them in, if there's a lot of tasks, right. I get you. So the scheduled deliverables report shows all the things that are currently being worked on this instant. The sprints that are in progress right now. So you've got actor status tier 2, which is being worked on through mid-June. Something I'm very interested in, because actor status tier 1 is what came with healing tier 0. And so actor status tier 2, granted they're only working on it part-time and it's a short sprint. Hopefully you'll be seeing more added to it. But it looks at a lot of things as well, as like with hygiene, NPC status tracking, multiple bites, so taking multiple bites out of your torpedo burrito versus eating the whole thing, and DNA integrity, medical insurance, cybernetic limbs, and cloning. So there's a lot of medical gameplay related stuff in there. Aerodynamic control services.
Limited lives.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to get their core gameplay stuff in. They're trying to get the game to a point where they say, "This is the Star Citizen experience, functionally, not bugs like withstanding, but like functionally, what the Star Citizen experience is going to be.
Yeah,
and that
getting ready to add in
upping timers,
legitimate regen.
Yeah.
It's
so
all
medical
part of
insurance, maybe even testing out some vehicle insurance, the player habs, hangars, cargo, like really nailing down the core gameplay loops of the game and how you're meant to feel and interact.
Yeah, the feel of the game for sure. Yep. Not this.
So
it's
going
run
to turn
and gun
people
Call
off.
of Duty
like
nonsense.
we are going to lose. Yeah, we are going to lose a lot of not invested in the actual project people, because the game's going to get hard and it's going to get tedious.
I think. I think the design
bigger
of it is, if you're looking for the FPS experience, then Star Citizen isn't for you. That's what Star Marine is for. And then eventually, Theaters of War. That's the experience that that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. If you're looking for something with more depth, well, Star Citizen is going to be like a lake, and you can go out into the middle where it's really deep, but along the shore, and there's a whole lot of shoreline, it's relatively shallow. There are more. I was talking about this with Paul. There are more Stanton-sized systems than not. Systems that are, a handful of AU, 10, 12 or less. And those are the systems where you'll be able to get around, fairly easily, but they're also mixed in. You have to remember that not every system has a lot of infrastructure. And so you'll have big systems with lots of infrastructure. You'll have small systems with lots of infrastructure. And the infrastructure is what's going to, the infrastructure and the size of the system are going to be the two factors that determine that influence how much sim and how complex your gameplay is. You don't have to do a whole bunch of complex healing stuff if you're in a 5 AU system with a station, every 3 minutes away, because you can go run a bunch of missions and just treat your symptoms with med pens or whatever, the med device, and then after doing a bunch of missions, okay, now I'm going to stop, I'm going to restock and go heal and then go back out. Same thing with your ship. As long as you don't get your butt kicked on the first mission, you'll be able to take some damage and do several missions in a row, chain them, and then stop at a station or wherever and refuel, rearm, repair, and keep on going. But the length of time and the amount of effort and planning will scale based off of how big the system is, how the space in between play areas, especially if you're transiting those play areas often, and then the infrastructure in that system. And so the ultra hard mode system isn't Pyro. Pyro isn't that big. It's bigger than Stanton, but it's not that big. And it doesn't have as much infrastructure. Well, the ultra hard mode system would be like Null, which is Pyro, but just as bad, if not worse, in terms of lawlessness and lack of infrastructure. But it's 120 AU, so it's going to have plenty. And they talked about it when they did the Rastar presentation. The whole point of Rastar and the procedural locations tool, along with server meshing and PES, is to be able to fill the universe with the most amount of content density that they can, and still have the game perform both on client and server side, and not just absolutely melt things. And that's the whole point, is that you won't be transiting planetary systems super often. You'll have plenty of gameplay. You won't have to cross the Stanton system all the dang time. You won't have to cross the Null system all the dang time. But if you do, the amount of planning and work you have to do, and to go ahead with that trans system crossing is dramatically different, or system to system crossing. It's dramatically different if you're going from Stanton to Terra versus going through Oberon to Null. That's the difference. I was talking about this with Space Tomato too. There's going to be not infinite, but a lot of variety, and there's going to be something for everybody. And there will be some people who, even the amount of tedium that comes with Stanton, which is absolutely minimal, will be too much, and they won't want that. I just want a dogfight. I just want to do FPS. Okay, sweet. That's what the arcade modes are for. That's the whole plan. Makineer says, just briefly saying hello. That said, I hear infrastructure. This conversation could get long and detailed. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent. The additional derelict settlements being worked on. This is what we talked about, how they've got 15 of them that are in production, and are it's taking them as much time to do 15 of them as it took them to make one with the procedural locations tool. And so these, I'm almost guaranteed, we're going to see these in 320, if not sooner. I mean, their locations.
I forgot they're adding those to back to Stanton.
Mm-hmm.
Too many things?
Yeah.
Too many things.
We talked about that before you hopped on, but have you watched SCL yet, Ness?
What was SCL this week?
Yesterday with there's mining, tractor beams, and salvage. It was just yesterday's.
I'm pretty sure I watched some of it, and then Nubifier's video.
Mm-hmm. Also, in like the middle of it, they had a little intermission, and Jared's intermission screen was this picturesque body of water on Microtech with a derelict settlement right up against it, with a dock and everything. It's like, okay, this is where you go fishing. But that's one of the derelict settlements, and they were showing.
I was there for that. Mm-hmm. I was there. Did I recognize that? God, no. Why would I do that?
Yep. I think it's if not 320, if we get like a 319.1, or maybe they do 319.1 for Alien Week and 319.2 in towards the end of July to hold us over until 320. They could add in more locations, because it's just the 319 extension of the 318 code branch with more things in it that aren't major adjustments to the code, big gameplay features or whatever. So adding more locations, and potentially some missions could be possible with that. Aerodynamic control surfaces, that work's ending soon, but it's one engineering dev with 7 tasks who's just getting his 292% load. Look at that! Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's like it's not a big. It's not a big thing. I think it's more of a long thing. Like, this has to get done, then this, then this, then this.
Yeah,
and it can't be parallelized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We already knew that they're working on the Apoa Santak Yai. You got an artist and a designer working on it.
Is that supposed to come out with Alien Week?
I don't think they're anywhere close to Alien Week. I think that's going to be an IAE ship, because they said that along with building it, they're working on the dynamic rotation of main thrusters to make it fly. And that that's the tech that will allow the Terrapin and the Valkyrie's thrusters to rotate based off of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. AR and map marker system rework. We talked about that in the other report. Please, oh please, let us see it soon. See, it says scheduled work ending soon, so we'll see. Who knows? This summer is going to be real interesting because so many of these things that Nazeris and I have talked about from the Squadron side of the house have received so much work since we saw them at CitizenCon, and they've talked about it so much in the monthly reports. I already know they're working on asteroid facilities. The ATC service, that's a big deal that they're working on that, because that's a big necessary upgrade in relation to work on server meshing. So it's going to get a lot busier around stations. So ATC is going to need to be able to handle that traffic. Bounty Hunter V2. Oh my gosh, look at all that work that's going on right now as we speak. I think you're right, Naz, and I think that this... God, I think 320 could be like most of Quantum.
Yeah, like I think it was not planned to be like that. I think it was just because they were going to get something in, and then 318 just was the biggest wrench in the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just so happened that when they got back around to it, they just both cargo and bounty hunting just ended up on the same train.
Yeah. And granted, these are part-time. They're not heavy load except for the vehicle content. But the vehicle content is almost done. We'll have to wait and see if anything gets, how much, if anything, gets added to this deliverable sprints with the addition of any upstream updates for Q4. But this is all the scheduled work. It goes out to mid-August because of USPU, but there's a bunch of teams working on it, including Narrative, which is downstream. Let's see, what is Mission Feature team? Mission Feature's upstream. Yeah, so the Mission Feature, EU Landing Zone,
Narrative's down,
USPU, and EU Vehicle Content. Okay, so Narrative is the only downstream team working on it. So there's a potential that these sprints could get elongated, but because they finish mostly at the end of Q2 and mid Q3, I feel like if they were going to, they would have been elongated already.
Mm-hmm.
Because
we're waiting for the... That's just in our humble opinion.
Yeah, because we're waiting on the Q4 update, and we've already had the Q3 update, and they haven't elongated these sprints. They've already been scheduled at this point already for some time and haven't changed much. So potentially it's looking really good for Bounty Hunter V2, especially since they showed us the work on the office, what do they call them, the law offices? Do you remember?
Yep, law office. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the work for the EU Landing Zone 2. Is the law offices.
Did I say? So. I don't know if I said it here or no. It was here. It was here just a minute ago. Location work is fast.
Yeah. Yep. Very fast.
So when they say, "Oh, we're building a location to facilitate this gameplay," then they're pretty certain that it's gonna be soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because location teams and Montreal people are just too fast.
Yeah.
I only have a weekend? How about a javelin settlement? What the heck are you doing?
Yeah. Bug fixing and tech debt, tons of work getting done, of course. Building interiors, it's part-time work, or at least that's the way it appears based off the load, number of tasks, and number of people working on it. But each one of those tasks could be a big thing. So we don't know, how difficult it is to do those things. Could be a room. Yeah, but 15 art devs and 7 designers on building interiors. Yeah, that's pretty suggestive that it's a big priority for CIG. We'll skip through the chapter work.
A lot of art.
Well, so if you look at the chapter work, because Nazeris and I were just talking about this on the other report. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of teams on here who are not the Squadron 42 teams, who are not the downstream teams for Squadron 42. So, yeah. And keeping an eye on that, because a lot of those sprints haven't been renewed. So we'll see.
July's going to be an interesting update.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kale Katarn, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Character work, Chemline, which is that location in Squadron 42. Actor tech team. Interesting. That's getting worked on Chemline. Crusader Spirit, actively in production with art devs right now. Cutting Tier 2. Very exciting feature for me, as I was talking about. Nazar, so we were, before you hop back on, while you're finishing Captain's Table, we were talking about the new missions retrieve consignment. And I agree with what you and Paul and Darz were saying, how, it's a retrieval mission. You have your, what did Paul call it?
List of Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, the Easter egg hunt. You have an Easter egg hunt with a list of things that you have to find. Well, it seems awfully convenient that these new missions are coming online, as well as the new locations in that with the derelict settlements. I could totally see that the derelict settlements being used for these new missions. You have to go here and retrieve these things, and you have to find them. They're in various loot crates. Maybe they're hidden on the surface and what have you. But I also thought it was like, if you have that and you release cutting tier 2 and hacking tier 0, it would give a lot of gameplay for those missions. If you've got some of these things you can find in unlocked containers, but some of them are in locked containers, and so you have to defend yourself against attackers with reinforcements while you're cutting through the locks to find the things you're looking for, or hacking through the locks if you don't have a cutting tool, and vice versa. A lot of really cool gameplay opportunities. So we'll see what they end up doing with it. Yep. So I'm excited about cutting tier 2 because I think it'll be used in boarding actions, and still working on that video. Derelict spaceships, point of interest. Distortion propagation, Duster factions, lots of cool work. Of course, they're still working on fire.
Well, fire, distortion propagation, the resource system, life support, gravity gen are very much all tied together in that they're all a systemic system for ships being alive.
Yeah.
Like, you need the life support system to be able to feed the fire to burn down your ship, which burns components, which feeds into the resource gameplay, which if a component explodes, that may do distortion to other components. It's all the same system. So if they're still working on resource management, there's a good chance they're working on fire and distortion and everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm not shocked that fire's still working. And like the VFX are like, was it last month or this month's report where they specifically called out fire, like, hey, the VFX guys are doing some great work on fire.
Yeah, they've talked about when they've shown it off before, don't look at the graphics right now. This is just temporary. We're going to make it look better. Well, this is them working on making it look better, because obviously they didn't stop with the initial implementation of clouds, and look at them now. Same thing with fire.
Yeah, apparently
flak ammunition.
I don't know if it's 19 or in the monthly report, because I've been like steeping in Star Citizen information the past couple days. But they have found or working on a way to remove that noise that happens that we see in game now, and they found a fix for it. I think that was in the monthly report. So hopefully
find out on Monday.
God, I don't remember what's in what. This is what happens when I read the thing early, like I'm supposed to.
I'll read it again, probably at least once before we do the show on Monday. But but
like I've been like watching 319 grow up in the PTU. I've been playing the game. I haven't been playing 319, but I've been playing 318. I've kept up to date with all the posts on the website. I've read most of the monthly report, not all of it straight through, but most of it, both of them. Just like trying to remember where the information came from.
Yeah. Control F is our friend.
Yeah, it is. Control F and tools like ShinyTracker.
Interesting that flak ammunition, along with the other ammos, is being worked on. I'm looking forward to seeing how they work on that and implement it.
Did you see Paul's video today?
Yeah. Oh, geez.
The Bengal, it has flak cannons on it. So they need it for Squadron. You know, it doesn't say Squadron. They need it for Squadron.
Yeah.
Because the flak cannons, like, I don't know how that's not a squadron thing. I don't know how that's not a squadron thing.
I want to see escort missions in the PU that are perfect for, say, a hammerhead, and carrying a load of flak ammo, so that way you can, flak track on
platform. What they need to do is come out with a new Atlas system that has a modular turret on the back.
Yeah. Be able to swap it out. Yep.
So you can do the Centurion or the Ballista or Flak or Distortion, like whatever it is you want to put on the back. Like rockets. Rockets would be a really good thing to put on the back of an Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing. Like not the giant missiles of the Ballista, but rockets. That's one place where rockets could actually be used is on a Ballista, on an Atlas.
Yeah. Freight elevators. So kind of connected to. So the thing is, I don't think. Maybe I'm off base, but I think it would be kind of
you just
weird.
Went all robot for the entire sentence.
Oh, yeah, it's my interwebs.
What'd you say?
Freight elevators. So I honestly think that with the whole D, whole C, whole E, you're going to be parking next to or docking with the station over by the big old external cargo gantry looking thing. I don't know what to call that. The giant thing holding a crap ton of cargo containers exterior of the container.
Good deck.
Yeah.
It's just called the cargo deck.
Yeah, the external portion of the cargo deck that you can see from space versus the the part you go to when you go inside the station.
In the monthly report, they do say something along the lines of they're reworking a bunch of that to prepare for the whole.
Oh yeah,
which includes the warehouse work, which is freight elevators, so that you can store commodities in your personal hangar.
Yep.
Well,
and I think
personal
it's
hangar,
all part
but like
of
a commodity inventory, basically, is what it's going to be.
I think it's a big addition that's not just for the whole sea. It's part of it.
Yeah. Because
obviously,
but like
all the ships
in preparation for the whole sea. Yeah. Like,
but I don't think we're going to be. I don't know if we're going to be docking your whole sea down at like the docking ports that you would dock your 90 or your hammerhead out. I don't know if you're going to be docking there and then getting your freight your 32 SCU out of a freight elevator that's next to that docking port, far away from that external cargo deck.
Finally, engineers focused on the new cargo deck and external cargo loading gameplay loop. So they're adding more stuff to the cargo deck.
Oh yeah, they're going to add more to the cargo deck
facilitate docking the whole sea.
Yeah, but
specifically, so there's a place to fill the cargo, and I actually think it's going to be in the struts inside, like not inside, but like in between the giant bushels of cargo boxes.
Yeah, that's what I was always thinking, that those arms
there that looks
would
like it
have
has spots.
Yeah, docking collars that would come out. You would you would dock there, and that way you could say, okay, load my cargo. Because some people are going to want to do it, but a lot of people are just going to pay to have it done. And then you get off and you go to the station.
Above.
Yeah, you go into the station and you go get some damn pizza or whatever. Or maybe you're going to load the car. You're going to tell it to load the cargo, and then you'll come back and you'll finish the cargo run after work, and you'll just log off at the station or something. However they want to do it. Yeah.
Also, like CIG, maybe like get those arcade machines ready.
Yeah. You can go and maybe you got injured during the last jump because a fuse blew or something like that. People can get healed. You can buy more supplies to work to fill your ship
have
with.
A tier 3?
No. Mm-mm.
No?
I don't. Nope. Not that I'm aware of, and I don't. So here's my thing. I don't think these other ships need tier 3 beds. I know some people have said, large ships should have a tier 3 bed. No, you don't need a tier 3 bed. You need hand tools to treat your symptoms until you get to some place that you can get healed. That's the whole point of having these hand tools and being, okay, well, you have a symptom from an injury or an illness. I can treat the symptom so that way it doesn't impact my gameplay, but I only have a certain amount of time based off of how much medicine I have and how severe those symptoms are before I can't continue to treat it. Otherwise, I'm going to overdose. But people are like, oh, okay, well, it's going to happen in 5 minutes. No, it's not going to happen in 5 minutes. Unless you have a tier 1 injury and you're having to give a whole bunch of drugs or something like that. But the whole point is for if you sustain a minor injury out in the black while you're mining or salvaging or, moving cargo or something like that, and, oh, you've got a bruise on your leg. Okay, well, you take some of the pain med. And then in 15 minutes, you take a little bit more pain med, and you repeat for the next 2 hours until the ship gets to a station, and then you go get the thing healed. You don't need a med bed. You need to interact with the healthcare system that is in game. Or if you're on an Orion way out in the black, oh, okay, well, I got my arm broken. All right, well, the suit will splint it up for me. I give some pain meds, and then you use your Mobiglass to call for a Apollo to rendezvous with you, and they'll be here in 2 hours. Sweet, I've got enough meds on board the ship because we prepared, and we have some in a box down in the cargo hold, and I can treat it and continue to treat it until the Apollo gets there, and then I can get it healed. Thanks, guys, and they go off and do their thing, collect their money, and you go back to, but it's not an interruption to the gameplay at all. It's no different than you calling for a Starfarer or a Crucible, or going to a station in order to get repaired, refueled, rearmed, anything like that. It's the same thing, but for your character. So you don't need a med bay. You need to interact with the system. Rant over.
It makes me think of one of the friends I'm playing with. Instead of eating, has taken to just med bed everything.
Yeah. This is
so instead of actually doing the food thing, he'll just sit in a med bed because he's got his Pisces C8.
People seem to think that this is some wild, outlandish idea, and it's like, no, this is exactly how it works in real life. Exactly how it works in real life. You go on a mining expedition, or you're drilling out in the deep ocean or something like that. You don't have a doctor with a surgical suite aboard the station. You have a medic with a limited set of things that he can do in order to take care of you, and he can treat your symptoms and treat minor injuries at most. But if you get severely injured, you need to call for rescue. And Star Citizen takes it one step further in that you can either call for rescue, or you can the rescue, if they're sufficiently capable, can come to you and heal you without you having to leave. That's the whole point. It's not interrupting at all. There'll be NPCs too.
It said the Q&A said that D and E have medical interfaces.
I don't know. Maybe they will. I mean, because they're capital ships, so and they have said that capital ships will have.
It says the C specifically doesn't have the luxuries of the D and E, such as sleeping quarters and medical interfaces. I think sleeping quarters have been added to the C, but I don't think medical is going to be added to the C.
Because you definitely have beds on the C. Yeah.
The C got bigger.
Yep.
That's the page for it.
Frontier Clothing, Gen 12 render, continuing to get work. They're already working on Vulcan. Does Vulcan have its own deliverable? I don't think it does it?
No.
They mentioned that in the monthly report. The reason I mention hacking for those new missions and hacking lockable containers is because hacking is getting worked on right now. And that's why Nazeris is going to cover it as part of a sit rep, because it's been getting work a little bit here and there since he did the scanner anomaly on it. I think it was in June of last year. So we'll talk about that here in a minute once we get finished. The Headhunters faction artists, Hex, we knew that was getting worked on. Map and radar system rework. Please give MFD rework. That's going to be huge. Lots of miscellaneous. Look at how much miscellaneous support work is getting done. And as you guys talked about that during Captain's Table, how so many things that make it into game that aren't big enough to make it onto the roadmap are done underneath these miscellaneous sprints. Miscellaneous work, bug fixing, tech debt. Look at all this work being done by all of these devs. It's a big deal, folks. Mission Manager app. Oh man, look at all these new missions. That is so much gameplay to be excited about. I've been watching people do the salvage contracts, but I'm really looking forward to doing them myself. Because it's looking like a lot of fun, especially in a multi-crew environment. Package extraction. Outpost homesteads, persistent hangars are getting worked on, along with the freight elevators. So, gosh. And it's being worked on by the gameplay feature team. Let's look at that deliverable. They're coming to the end of their work with a sprint for EU Landing Zone 2, which Landing Zone 2, those are the people that will, make the hangar itself. And that sprint is in Q3, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if this sprint gets elongated into Q4 when we get that update. Persistent streaming and server meshing, gonna go on forever. Physical damage and breakability. Physics team still slugging it out with that deliverable. Gosh, I know they said that armor is going to be a while, and I don't know if that's part of armor, but yeah. Physics rope simulation.
I imagine they're working on.
Go for it.
I imagine armor is the last thing they're adding.
Yeah, I think armor is going to come after the resource management. That'll be the next thing that those people move on to. Physics rope simulation. They talked about how they're going to be able to use that on a winch. So yeah, give me hoist gameplay. Pyro space stations and the pyro. This is them just polishing, really, considering they're only working part-time on stuff. Quantum simulation, like I was talking about. 6 engineering devs working on 29 tasks. And they've been working on it. You can take this all. You can go all the way back to. I tracked it through every single one of these reports all the way back to February 2022, and they started off with 5. I don't remember when they added a 6th dev, but they've had people working on this for well over a year now, and the monthly report's very indicative that they've reached some pretty significant milestones. Resource management still has a lot of work going on. Polaris, yes. 7 art devs, please. I hope they'll give us a little glimpse, kind of like they did last year at the BMM. I hope it just doesn't mean that they're about to give us a glimpse and then they're going to put it on hold in December. Seated item handling.
I think they're a little not too far along, but I think the reason they did pick up the Polaris is to finish the Polaris.
Yeah, I think so too, especially after that rework that they just showed us for the interior. That probably bodes well for the other RSI ships that they need to do.
It would be kind of ridiculous if they're like, oh, we should not do the BMM because gameplay's not going to be ready. It's a bigger ship and we don't have the multi-crew stuff yet. We don't have anything to support this ship in game yet. So let's move on to the Polaris and do the exact same thing. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, by the time it comes out, probably Invictus launch week next year or so, I think there's going to be a lot of gameplay for it. Seated item handling, that'll be really cool. So you can sit on the your ground vehicles, your open ground vehicles, and handle a weapon and a tractor beam. Oh man, the shenanigans that will come from that. But yeah, a lot of stuff that we've been looking at with the other. Yeah, somebody's going to be flying by you and you'll see them driving by you, and then all of a sudden the box will be trailing behind them from the tractor beam.
Yep. Just somebody driving a Steve, and the guy in the passenger seat's just holding a box. Whack!
It could be any inanimate object. People are just going to get shellacked with random things that people are going to be, leaning out of the side of the Steve with the tractor beam, holding, a loot crate, just smack somebody at 65, kilometers an hour with it. Oh gosh. Still lots of work going on with these unannounced vehicles, and then the underground facilities, weapon misfire and wear. So yeah, a lot of really interesting work going on, and it's always good to keep up with what things are actually being worked on right now, as well as the updates to sprints via the other progress ShinyTracker report. But that wraps up and I know we've been going at it for a long time, but we went on a few tangents that are relevant to what we've been looking at. But that wraps up the Roadmap Roundup portion of the show, and we're going to move into our sit rep. So give me 1 second. We'll move back into this screen really quick,
so you can see when you have to clip the video.
Yeah, I got to make sure I have the right thing up. And Nazeris, you've got right.
What?
Do you have the OneNote up for sitrep and hacking?
Yep.
Cool. So everything that I've got up on screen, I didn't pull up the... Actually, here, what I'll do is I'll pull that up real quick. And that way it's just there so people can see it. Oop. There we go. I'm not going to play the video, but I'm just going to, hey, this is the thing, and it'll be in the show notes, and that way people can go back and watch it if they want to. And, all right, so, yeah, that all looks right. Okay, and
then you have tractor beams after, right?
Yeah, I was going to, you do hacking, and then I'll do tractor beams, and then we'll be done.
Well, okay, I was wondering why UI was in bold. I'm like, oh, because you just clipped it from the report.